What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're going to be showcasing versus Kid, the other side of Divine Departure Shanks. And we talked about it briefly in the Shanks showcase video that is already up on the YouTube channel. Make sure you go ahead and check it out if you guys haven't done that yet. But, you know, this was a very highly anticipated character. A lot of people were expecting, you know, Shanks to be absolutely god tier, like top 5 best unit in the game, top 10 best unit in the game, and unfortunately, he just hasn't lived up to that hype yet. I do obviously think that he has some positives. He's going to be a good unit for sure. Go check out the video if you haven't seen it yet, but the thing is a lot of people were not really expecting that much from Kid, and to read what Kid has and comparing that to what Shanks got, it is mind-boggling, because I think Kid is one of the best legends that is released in 2024. This unit is phenomenal. However, you know, he's not perfect. He's definitely not perfect, but he has a lot of good things going for him, and we're going to discuss it all in this video today. So let's go ahead and start things off. He's a strength unit. He's shooter-driven, so pretty good class and type combination thus far. In terms of his captain ability, of course, on the side of the video, you guys will see it. I have split it up so it makes it a little bit easier to digest his abilities. First of which, -2 turns of cooldown at the start of the quest. That really helps the shooter team for sure. You also get up to a 6 times attack boost based on the number of shooter characters on the crew, minimum of 5 times. It is boosting all characters' attack, but the more shooters on the crew, the more attack you will be receiving. 1.3 times HP. Tandem, bomb, and super bomb slots are going to be counted as beneficial for the crew. It's kind of a neat effect. If you've got 4 shooters on the crew, you remove 10 turns of bind anytime you're inflicted with it. That's obviously fantastic to get access to that. Shooter characters don't have like the greatest utility. I guess technically if you count like Yamato Ace as a shooter captain, which, you know, they are, but you know, just in general, that's good. Bind removal in a captain is fantastic. And then furthermore, if you have a full team of shooters on the crew and a shooter crewmate uses a special, it reduces Kid's own special charge time by 5 turns. So that's obviously a really unique effect and works in very well with the way that his special is designed, which we'll go through very shortly. Furthermore, if you have a full team of shooter characters on the crew and you have less than 25% HP, his captain ability will be boosting shooter characters' attack by 6.5 times instead. So extremely strong captain ability for the shooter team. And then furthermore, if this character uses this special, and it then also will go ahead and state that character's captain ability will get an added effect for the next 3 turns. So during the period of time that you've launched the special, for the next 3 turns, if you've got a full team of shooters and you're below 25% health, anytime you activate Barrier Pierce potential ability, it will apply a -6% shooter resistance to all enemies for 1 turn. So this is really cool too. Synergizes with the way that this unit's trying to perform his gimmick, be it low HP thresholds, and then when you perform Barrier Pierce, you're getting 6% shooter resistance down. I will admit that that effect is like, it is a cool effect, but the problem is it's just not that big of a damage bonus. Like -6% is pretty minimal overall. I think that the number probably should be close to like that 10% threshold. We do know that Shanks as a captain gets access to that as well, but it's only for when he taps with a tandem or an int slot, and then he does like a 10% slasher resistance down. And this one, you need to have low HP threshold, full team of shooters, activate the special, and then get your Barrier Pierce to activate, and then you get 6% resistance. You know, you have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to get that, but at the end of the day, it's just an additional bonus effect. You don't really have to, you know, regard that as anything. It's more about the rest of the captain ability and what it's doing. Cooldown reduction is great. High attack multipliers, matching slots, bind removal, and then recharging his special, -5 turns for his special every time another shooter crewmate uses their special. So, a very, very interesting captain ability overall thus far. No complaints from me at all. I will admit that, you know, it would have been cool if he had some kind of very similar gimmick to the other shooter captains, where if you have Barrier Pierce, you activate it, you remove enemy defensive effects. This one is a little bit different. Instead of being utility focused, it's just purely damage focused, which shooters have never been renowned for being massive damage dealers, but I think Kid definitely changes that. So next, let's go ahead and discuss Kid's special ability, because his special ability is extremely unique. First of which, you can only activate his special once per quest, and you're allowed to overcharge it. So there have been a couple of characters that have released that have had this kind of gimmick where you can overcharge the special. Basically, once you get the special to max, every additional turn that you charge, including from like specials that reduce characters' cooldown, including from his captain ability when a shooter crewmate uses special, gives himself -5 turns of cooldown. This all does count towards the overcharge mechanic, and the fact that he can only use his special once isn't that big of a deal, because there isn't really that much long form content where you would actually need to use his special twice anyway. If you do need to use 2 specials, you can use double Kid if you need to do it. Anyways, the effect that it actually gives you will apply a paralysis to all enemies for 2 turns that goes through immunity, which is fantastic. The paralysis of 75% chance to like not reduce enemy actions, like that's kind of like whatever. The actual paralysis chance is very redundant. It's more just the fact that you're applying a paralysis status through immunity to then get a conditional boost out of it. So he grants the paralysis. He will state that if you have a multiplicative buff, he basically buffs it immediately to a 2x boost. So that's already really good, because chain multiplicative buffs are very, very low. Usually you're getting anywhere between 1.1 to 1.5 if you're activating it. Most of the time it's like 1.25. There are a couple of 1.5s. Usually it's very, very minimal. This immediately buffs it to a 2x multiplicative buff, which is insanely good. It is the highest chain multiplicative buff in the game. And he further does that again, because his special, if you don't have a multiplicative buff active, it will give you a 1.5x chain multiplicative buff for 1 turn, and then for every 3 turns of special charge overcharge that you've actually received, you get a further 0.1 bonus. So if you have charge up to a maximum of 30 additional charges, you can get all the way up to a 2.5x chain multiplicative buff, making it the best chain multiplicative buff in the game. Furthermore, he gives you a 2.5x conditional boost against paralysis, so the self-proccing paralysis conditional is fantastic, and then he also can buff that conditional boost all the way up to a 3.5 depending on how much overcharge you have. He then furthermore will cut your crew's health by 50%, but the health cut can be, increased even more by a further 5% for every single turn of overcharge, up to a max of 99% health cut to your crew, and then the amount of HP that was minused from his special cut is multiplied by 200 and deltas damage to all enemies, which is obviously very good. He does a ton of damage with this special, and again, it is a damage dealing special, which is a good thing. And it does continue on. He also removes 6 turns of blue shield and rainbow shield of defense up and % damage reduction. And if you have a full team of shooters, he reduces it by a further 4 turns, totaling for 10 turns of defense up and % damage reduction removal. And then there's even more on top of it, where if you also use the special and you're below 20% health, he gives you 1 turn or a 1-hit damage immunity buff. Basically, it lasts forever until the enemy removes your beneficial effects, and it just allows you to tank any 1 hit and take 0 damage. It's so good, and the effect of the damage immunity will still activate even if you're like above that 20% threshold. If the special health cut gets you below 20%, it will then still give it to you. So just Kid does so much, because he can be used on basically any team to get this amazing bonus of a guaranteed paralysis conditional, massive chain multiplicative buff. You get the health cut, damage dealing special, removing blue and rainbow shield by 10 turns. Obviously, you only get the 10 turn removal in a full shooter team, but you still get 6 turn removal everywhere else. And then damage immunity as well, because you want to be at low HP for the way that Kid is kind of working. So everything just looks amazing with the way that Kid is designed. Speaking of good design, his versus effect, well, unfortunately the requirement itself is not very well designed in my opinion, having to consume recovery, tandem bomb, or super bomb slots with your normal attacks in order to charge that gauge. Now that is actually going to work with all characters consuming slots, not just Kid himself, and you are able to pass turns in order to get it, but yeah, it's very, very hard to charge in normal content, and it's really frustrating when Kid has so much cooldown reduction going on, where, you still have to kind of stall a little bit in order to get his versus effect to activate in normal content. Definitely can be a bit of an issue. But the activation effect is amazing, where he grants 100% HP guard for 2 turns. Remember, the Versus Blackbeard that just came out had access to HP guard, and we all know how good this is. If you activate HP guard, you take 0 damage from burn, poison, pain debuff, You can use your rush SUGO specials without consequence. You can use all the rush taps and not even have to worry about the HP reduction. It is amazing, and being able to activate this whenever you want with this versus effect is fantastic. And it goes a bit deeper than that, where he changes shooter character slots, including block, into tandem, and changes the multiplier of tandem bomb and super bomb slots to a 2.5 times multiplier for 2 turns, basically making tandem bomb and super bomb count as like wino slots, basically, in terms of the multiplier of damage that they're granting to your crew. But the fact that you can be at such low HP thresholds with Kid's abilities and activate the HP guard as well, so you could activate the HP guard first from his versus effect, then use his special ability to get to low HP thresholds and not have to worry about dying from like a pain debuff, for example. It just all works perfectly. They designed this character so well, and he's going to synergize amazingly with some of the other great shooters in the game. Exchange Ace can be used with this guy to get the double stacking conditional boost from paralysis and the ignited conditional boost. You could even use the 10th anniversary Ace with this guy if you wanted to do that as well. There's just so many good units you can use with this guy, and this design is fantastic. He's going to do a crap load of damage for the shooter team, and he's just a great addition that we needed to make shooters like just a little bit better, honestly, because shooters didn't have a lot going for them, and this is just a really nice addition for those teams. The final component that we're going to touch up on before we wrap up the video is his Super Tandem, and, you know, as much as I love this unit and everything that he's trying to do, the Super Tandem is a little frustrating because in order to activate it, you need to be at the final battle, and you need 4 or more shooter characters on the crew, not including himself. So you need to tap with a bunch of shooter units to trigger it, so it's very similar to the versus Kaido Super Tandem that we got at the start of the celebration. Very annoying to activate because you need to tap with a bunch of units, so only a very small portion of your team is actually going to get access to this Super Tandem effect, where it's a 2.5 times tandem attack boost for shooters for 1 turn, and then boosts the base attack by 1500 for the user of Final Tap SUGO special. So you activate the Super Tandem, and then if you activate a Final Tap in the same turn, they get a 1500 base attack bonus. It's like kind of whatever, you know what I mean? I would have just preferred if it was just 1500 for the whole crew with the Super Tandem, but it is what it is. The thing is, though, is that shooters don't have like a lot of great synergy. Like, you know, in Free Spirit, you have like a lot of Straw Hat focused characters and stuff like that, and they can synergize really well with a Super Tandem because you get you know, a lot of the same units that keep coming out. But for shooters, they don't have like good character synergy in that way. So I think this is a good way to kind of circumvent that issue, to still give shooters a Super Tandem while not having to use characters that are related to each other, like Izo and Ace and Kid. I mean, technically Ace and Izo have a bit of synergy, but like Kid doesn't really have a lot of synergy with, like, you know, Borsalino and stuff like that. There's just really weird issues in regards to that, but honestly, they did a really good job with Kid. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, though. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about him down below in the comment section, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post on my channel, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.